Let's go ahead and get started, everyone. Dan Spots, Columbia Gorge Community College. Welcome to Community Affairs, hosted by the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. Our guest, Kathy Fitzpatrick, Mobility Manager for Mid-Columbia Economic Development District, talking about Gorge TransLink Alliance and all other things transportation in the beautiful Columbia Gorge. Let's go ahead and start with introductions and brief updates around the table. I'm going to start with Mr. Matthew Cole. Matthew, take it away.
Thanks, Dan. Matt Cole here, Director on IT. We provide IT services to business here in the Gorge. I also sit on the Chamber Board. I will be this next year's incoming chair. So happy to say that. That's all I got. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Dave Peters.
Morning, everybody. Dave Peters, excuse me. Columbia Cascade Housing, Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. Update on down payment. We've allocated probably 2/3 of our kind of regular money and about half of our money that was set aside for first generation homebuyers. Still haven't done a single one for a veteran. So point any veterans our way. There's an extra $30,000 available to them for down payment funds. As far as our community land trust, where we're moving forward with the project here in the Dalles, we have a double lot that we're most likely going to be putting a fourplex on, or maybe two duplexes. So I'll keep you apprised on that as we move forward. Thanks.
Excellent. Good news about that land trust, Dave. Thank you. Philip Masher. Philip.
Good morning, Philip Masher, Sotheby's International Realty and TDAC Board and Planning Commission. Last night I went to a fantastic free event in the city park. Victor Johnson was playing. There was maybe 30, 40 people there. It was just the most wonderful, pleasant thing. And that is going to continue to happen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. It's a collaboration between the library and Parks and Recs. So I very much recommend checking that out. That was just absolutely wonderful. And then just a couple of really quick mentions on the Art Center. We're soon starting our next show. It's called Whimsy. Go check it out on our website, dallesartcenter.org. We're also taking applications for summer art camp. We do have scholarships available for that. And then lastly, I wanted to once more point to our Diamonds and Denim fundraiser, Saturday, September 16th, out at the Pines Winery. It's going to be a line dance instruction and dancing together, and a fundraiser for the Dalles Art Center. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. And I think there's a mailing list about the September event. We received a notice on that one.
That's correct.
Are people able to get on that mailing list by contacting the Art Center?
Yeah.
Great. Maybe something in the chat box on that one. And I think Victor Johnson has a mailing list as well on those events. So a lot of stuff going on around the community.
Yeah, and there's also a library newsletter that talks about it.
Good. Mr. Matthew Cleaves, is that Matthew? I'm just seeing Matthew on the screen. Or is that Matt Cole? I think that might be.
No, this is if you can hear me, this is Matthew Cleaves. I'm trying to listen in and get some children ready for daycare this morning too. So I'll be listening in as best I can this morning.
Okay. Matthew, any fast updates from the city?
We're headed into the new budget year, July 1st. Construction has begun again at the Dog River Pipeline. We're hoping to finish that up this coming year. So that's a very exciting project to get done and completed for the water system that we have here. Dan Spots is coming on over in a little bit here, so that'll be extremely exciting. We recently hired a facility supervisor position who will work down in the planning department, the community development department, to bring some additional focus on some of the infrastructure we have around town. Most notably, for example, the downtown street trees and Lewis and Clark Park, and bring some additional attention there. There's a whole host of other things I could mention. I think I'm presenting here in a couple weeks, so maybe I'll save a few of those for them too. Thanks.
Sounds good, Matthew. Thank you. Mr. Rob Garrett.
Good morning, everybody. Rob Garrett, Mid-Columbia Senior Center. Just got through with a giant bazaar / parking lot sale last weekend. I think we're all kind of walking around sleepy here. It's been a lot of work setting up and doing it and cleaning up, but it was very successful. The live music was a nice addition throughout the day, as well as just the food that Cora's cooked for us. And it was the best one we've ever had as far as income for the center. So it was a very, very good fundraiser. And I saw some people, I saw Dave for a few minutes. If you were there and I missed you, I apologize. I walked 24,000 steps Saturday. So it was a long day. That's it from the senior center.
Wow. Thank you, Rob. Commissioner Phil Brady. Good morning, sir.
Phil Brady, Wasco County Commissioner. I think we should have a new holiday on July 30th, call it Budget Day. And congratulations to all the entities that worked and pushed to get your budgets in on time. That's I just realized that this year that, oh my gosh, there's so much work that happens to keep government and keeps community services running. It's amazing. It's a multitude of people working together. And probably I'll just throw out one thing. Wasco County Commission enacted a fireworks ban across Wasco County for no fireworks on 4th of July for the safety and health and preventing smoke from getting in our lungs and burning down our houses and all of that. So wave flags and shout and scream and have it. Well, you can have a barbecue. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Okay. The cities. The cities in Wasco County will need to enact their own bans.
Thank you, Philip. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you, Phil.
And if I may just briefly, thanks, Phil, for reminding me, the city of the Dalles did enact a similar ban. And so we hope you all enjoy the professional commercial show down on the river on July 4th.
And that's a key point. That event is still on schedule as planned, but good reminder about the county and city. So I don't know status on Mosier due for other communities, but that's something else to keep in mind. All right.
Skamania County or Klickitat County, they tend to traditionally send the fire department out and burn along the river about this week in preparation for all the personal fireworks that seem to spark fires there on the riverbank.
Good precaution. Let's keep our fingers crossed. It's already dry out there. All right. I think we've gone through the roster this morning. I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Fitzpatrick. Kathy, you're on mute right now. And do you have anything to screen share, or what's your plan here?
Yeah, I will share some slides. Not too many.
Okay.
Sorry. I know slide deck is not always the most fun thing, but I do want to show you some pictures which really can tell a million words. So I'm not telling you a million words. So let me share my screen and share, and then I'm going to do.
We see it, Kathy. We see.
Okay, just trying to get there. Oh, okay. Do you see the presentation mode?
We see well, we see the main slide, and
yeah, you don't.
with not the presentation mode. We see the slide.
Okay, for some reason.
But this
I
is
don't know
fine.
why
You could run with this, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll run with that. Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know why this happens every once in a while. But anyways, so what I am presenting on is the Gorge Regional Transit Strategy, which was a planning process of the 5 counties, and everyone and every organization that is involved in our 5-county area. It's a real achievement. It has taken us since January 2020 to complete the strategy. And I'm just really excited to be able to present it to you. We are halfway through. We are going to all of the counties to get the counties to adopt this plan. And we're about halfway through. We'll be coming to Wasco County soon. So I'm going to just advance the slide. So before I get started on talking about the strategy, I do want to just give you a glimpse of what public transportation looked like from 2011 to 2016. Now, since the 1990s, most of the counties have had dial-a-ride services, and that has really been critical for our older adults who don't drive anymore and need to get to critical medical appointments, and for people with disabilities as well. And generally, the purpose is to get to very essential services. So that is critical medical, chemotherapy, dialysis, and maybe accessing food. But it's very limited. So in 2011, Skamania County, and good on you, Skamania County, introduced a fixed route service. And that fixed route service went from Stevenson to Fisher's Landing in Vancouver. And so that was our region's only fixed route service from 2011 to 2016. And then in 2023, look at what we've got. So this has happened. These fixed route services have happened since 2016. So it's truly an incredible accomplishment that this region has undertaken and achieved. And so I really want to, as much as this planning project is looking to the future, I really want to look back and say, wow, we've already done a lot. We've already accomplished this kind of network, of fixed route network, which is really amazing for a rural area. So the first page, I'm showing you some slices of the actual plan, the strategy itself, and I'll put in the chat, I'll put an access to the actual strategy. It's only 14 pages, but of course the memos underneath that 14 pages are voluminous. I wrote memo 2, which was existing conditions, and it's about 50 pages. So we really condensed it for kind of that bite size for decision makers who just really want to see the, what is it we're getting ourselves into when they adopt this. So we really took it up high level. But the introduction starts with the why. And the why is, well, why fixed route? Why public transportation? Who needs it? And so our very first focus group meeting, or it wasn't really a focus group, it was really a stakeholder group meeting, very large. We had about 150 stakeholders who represented large parts of our communities attending these meetings. And the very first one in January of 2020, we met at the Cascade Locks Pavilion, and we looked around the room, and there was Forest Service and Oregon State Parks, Washington State Parks. There was Gorge Commission. There were county elected leaders and city elected leaders, planners, our city engineers. Thanks to City of the Dalles city engineer, who faithfully attended every single meeting over the last 2.5 years. And we had healthcare representatives. We had representatives of the Native American peoples who live in the gorge, and especially those who live at in-lieu and treaty fishing access sites in the gorge. We had the community college. So our former community college president. Dr. Marta Cronin was our convener for the first phase of this planning process. And so we really, there was amazing representation. And we really asked everyone, why are you here? Why are you so interested in public transportation that you would commit to being part of this group talking about the future of public transportation in our area? And what we heard was, and I'll just give you a real quick list because there were, of course, many reasons, but workforce mobility, housing affordability, congestion, aging populations, and environmental concerns. So that's a really high level list. But and I'll add, since I'm looking at Dan, I'll add, of course, access to higher education. So just really super important mobility concerns that continue to this day. We haven't, of course, solved these problems, and we hope to get there. We hope to start to be able to become really good partners with all of you, serving your mobility needs as we move forward with implementing this strategy. So that was the why. And now I'll get to more of the what, like what was it that we did? So phase one, we built these regional partnerships, like I was just talking about. We had both WashDOT and ODOT funding for this planning process. And WashDOT, ODOT were both very involved, as well as Southwest Washington Regional Transportation Council. We really looked at all of the plans, the transportation plans in the region. So very local plans that we tried to pull out of them their goals, policies, and priorities for public transportation and stitch those together so that we were building our regional vision statement and goals upon the planning processes that already existed. So these are our comprehensive human services, transportation plans, our TSPs, our transportation system plans, larger master plans for transit. So really looking at what already existed and building on that. So that was really phase one, was hammering out that that consensus for a regional vision statement, and we have quite a few goal areas that we worked on. Phase two was, how do we achieve the vision? So phase two, we brought consultants on board. So we had Kittleson and Associates, who have worked a lot in public transportation and transportation in our area. In fact, Kittleson was the consultant for the Dalles Transportation System Plan back in 2016. So that we had Kittleson, and then we had a larger team that included Echo Northwest, that many of us know who have worked in this area. They're very focused on economic development and those planning processes. We had a small planning firm from Washington, Plan Engineering, who she has done a number of plans looking at governance models in both Oregon and Washington states. And so that was extremely helpful to have her on board. And then we had JLA, who is out of Portland, and they do facilitation and convening. So they were helping us to convene and facilitate the meetings. So that the how is really about operations, just the kind of nuts and bolts of getting the buses on the road, but also the stickier issue of governance options. So how do we move forward regionally? How do we better coordinate regionally? And then, of course, the financial scenarios, which are extremely important to implement all of our great ideas. So governance models, we worked on a lot, and we finally got to a few that we thought were very workable and doable, albeit some on the very complicated and expensive scale to implement, and some on the very easy scale to implement. But looking at all of these governance models, our consultant said, well, look, the first thing you have to do in order to get any of these done is to bring the decision makers together. So in most of the counties, the decision makers are the county commissioners. So Wasco County, Klickitat, Skamania, Sherman, and Sherman counties are the county commissioners are the decision makers for public transportation in their county. In Hood River County, it is Columbia Area Transit. So they have their own transportation districts, so they have their own board. So with the 5 boards, what MCEDD has agreed to do, what the strategy has proposed, and what MCEDD has agreed to do is to bring these decision makers together. And this was, of course, kind of dependent on implementation money, which we did receive. And so this will probably happen after grants are awarded. So definitely after July, and looking more towards fall or winter, but bringing our decision makers together, and probably with a larger group, with the cities, with those who are very invested, like the Dalles, who do invest monies into public transportation, and looking and bringing them together and talking about a governance model. First, that would start off to be something simple like a TAB, a transit advisory board. A transit advisory board would be advisory, so there wouldn't be the decision-making, that decision-making authority wouldn't be taken from the decision makers, but this advisory board could advise the decision makers, most of whom do not have public transportation at the top of their priority list. They have, they're looking at the spectrum of needs in their county, and transportation is just one of them. So we're really excited about that moving forward. We really think that bringing the decision making, or bringing the focus of public transportation higher on the list for our county commissioners is going to really make a big difference. Previously, we've done all of these accomplishments at the staff level, but at some point you really need to bring in the decision makers, and to have regional coordination, it has to be a regional body.
Kathy,
So, yes.
we do have a question in the chat box. Would you like to take questions as you go through the presentation, or wait until the end of the presentation?
I'm almost done. This is my last slide.
Okay.
Oh, I do want to just, let's see, wait a minute. Let me go to, I forgot to, there we go. Oh, no, it's not going through, is it? Shoot. Oh, it's not. Okay, for some reason, let's see, maybe I'll click on this. No. Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to go to this slide. I just wanted to show you a picture of what partnerships can do. So this is a picture of Dog Mountain Trailhead. And I don't know if you all remember, but a few years ago, this trailhead was complete chaos. People were parked down SR14, and it's a very narrow stretch of SR14. There's really not enough room on the road for people to be parking alongside a state highway. They were parked along the railroad tracks. People were walking along the railroad tracks to get to the parking lot, to get to the trailhead from their car. There were a couple of people killed. And after that really terrible accident, there was a large group of partners brought together, Skamania County Sheriff and EMS and WashDOT and the Chamber, and of course public transportation were brought to the room, and Forest Service, because this is a Forest Service trail. And we all talked about what can we do to manage this chaos. And so basically it's a shuttle system, but it's not just a shuttle system. It's a shuttle system in partnership with a permitting system so that we space people out so that they don't come all at once, and so that their cars don't come all at once to the parking lot. So this has this was a picture of a busy weekend, and you can see just kind of in the background the neatly parked cars in the parking lot. Generally, before, every single patch of dirt would have been taken up with cars parking and completely blocking people from being able to leave the trailhead, the trailhead parking lot. So anyway, this is an example of what we can accomplish with our partnerships. Let's see. So this is my last slide. And in conclusion, I'm coming back to the why. Why public transportation, and why are we doing all of this planning? Why are we looking at building an even better regional transportation system? And it's because we really believe that a well-coordinated and integrated regional public transportation system will help us and our communities in our region thrive. So that's the end of my presentation. So I'll stop sharing and start to answer your questions.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And Philip Mosher has the first question in here, and please, everyone, either raise your hand or go into the chat box. But Philip's question, do you include multimodal transportation, walking and biking, as well as vehicular?
Well, it's this strategy really focused on the transit system, on the fixed route services, but with acknowledgement of all of the other modalities that exist and that are important to be able to connect to the bus. So it's, you know, to get on the bus, a person has to be walking. So people generally have to walk to the bus stop and to get on the bus. So yeah, we're definitely very interested in the different modalities, and that includes, of course, all of those kind of micro transportation modes. So if we look at micro mobility, like electric bike share or an electric bike lending library, those types of things, and I'm pointing those out because Columbia Area Transit has recently written a grant for an e-bike lending library. So that's pretty exciting. They are looking down the road at perhaps e-bike share, which could definitely serve both of our counties of Hood River and Wasco County. There's also van pooling. You know, if we think about our really rural areas like South County, van pools are so efficient and effective. They go exactly where people want to go. They pick them up at the time they need to be picked up. It doesn't have to be one employer, it can be multiple employers. So if people are leaving from South County, needing to get to the hospital or other places, the college, to work in the Dalles, that's a great use for a van pool. Both CAT and the Link Public Transportation have subsidies available for van pool. So it's a really, I'm doing the rounds and hoping to get a few employers on board to establish our, you know, some of our first van pools. There are van pools that do exist in our region, but they generally go outside the region or come from outside of the region.
All right. Kathy, how do people find out about this in the first place? And, you know, from a college perspective, I often discover that students, staff, faculty will ask questions. Well, you know, is there public transportation? How do I find out about it? There's a central hub, information hub, right? A website.
Right. We do have a website. I'll put that website in the chat, and I'll specifically direct you to the strategy page, but the website is really focused on the schedules of the 5 counties and the providers, and really helping people to kind of stitch those schedules together. So there is a Google Maps. Of course, you can use Google Maps on any of your devices, but Google Maps Transit is a great way to figure out how to get from A to B pretty quickly, and our routes will come up.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah, I use it a lot. When somebody asks me, how do I get from Goldendale to the college? at 3 o'clock, and I need to be there by 3. And you can just put that in, and it just automatically pops up. It's a good tool.
Other questions for Kathy this morning? Everyone feel free to chime in. Kathy, what else is coming up on the horizon in terms of transportation? What are the next steps?
Well, we've got, I did talk a little bit about our Native American population. They're in all 5 counties, and more specifically, the Native Americans, the fishers who live along the river. Those are sites that are very difficult to serve with public transportation. And MCEDD recently submitted a grant. I don't know, we'll see if we get it. It wasn't the best funding program alignment, but I've just been kind of desperate to get this started. So the idea is a daily needs shuttle. So many of our Native American residents are washing their clothes in the river, or sometimes not able to leave where they live to get groceries. So really basic daily needs. So what we're looking at is a shuttle system that would hit each of the sites and then take them to the nearest. For instance, most of the sites on the west end could go to Hood River, to the laundromat, to the grocery store, maybe even a medical appointment if that fits in. And then the sites on the east side, but looking at both sides of the river, going into the Dalles. So that's something that we're hoping to implement, to get funding to implement and to start to work on. Our transportation system hasn't worked well for this population in the past. We have not. We worked really hard over the last few years to establish trust, but it's going to take more than that. So we are continuing to work on this relationship, on establishing trust and providing the services that they actually need. So I'm really excited about the work we're doing with this particular population. But of course, we are also looking at the needs of our seasonal farm workers. Of course, the fishers are seasonal farm workers as well, but seasonal farm workers who perhaps live in Hood River in Odell and Parkdale area, but work in the Dalles. So especially during cherry season, having that long commute is really difficult for them, and something like a van pool would be really helpful. So really, really kind of diving into very specific transportation needs, and sometimes that solution is not a bus. So working on those really kind of unique and creative projects, really looking at transportation in a more flexible way. And also, I did want to put in a plug, thinking of our older adults. I do want to put in a plug for our travel trainer, thinking about the Dog Mountain Shuttle, thinking about going to Multnomah Falls for a visit with our older adults, getting out of the house, getting on the bus, getting out of the house, going to get a coffee downtown. Our travel trainer can really work with our older adults and with their caregivers, if they do have a caregiver, to figure out how the bus can be helpful in their, with their mobility needs. So really wanting to put that plug out there for our new travel trainer and the work that she's been doing with individuals and individual needs.
Sounds like a good segue over to Rob, who has a question.
Good job, Dan. Very good. Well, a couple of things, Kathy. First off, a positive and a somewhat negative, but not horribly negative, but one positive first is I have a man who lives in Mosier here at the senior center almost every day. Mark, he's a former mayor of Mosier, and his last name escapes me at this moment. Maybe many of you know him from years gone by. Anyway, he comes in a couple times a week and gives me an update on what he's been able to do with the transit. And he's a veteran, of course, and he has that advantage where he gets special I think they're called coupons or passes, I guess would be the right word. Anyway, he's told me at least 2 times he was able to travel all the way from Mosier to the Gateway Transit Center in Portland for free. And he's a veteran, that's probably part of that. And he wanted me to, excuse me, to encourage other people that is something, of course, at that point you can catch, Max or whatever, and you can get all over town down there. So
yeah,
he's pretty excited
VA.
About that. So,
yeah, he goes up to the VA because it's, as you know, that Pill Hill is a terrible parking situation. So he loves to take transit up to the VA.
Anyway, so he's pretty excited about it. So just one thing, that's cool. One thing that's a negative, but not really a negative. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat because I started talking. I have another lady who comes, I think 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times a week, and she gets a ride from her house over by Kelly Avenue. And she comes and they drop her off in the morning and they pick her up in the afternoon. Sometimes she is afraid to make a change to her bus schedule, even if she's done with her event here at the senior center at 1, it doesn't pick her up to 3. She would rather wait here because she's afraid if she makes a change, she'll make someone in the bus system upset. So I don't know how you could, address that kind of thinking. She's an elderly lady. Obviously, she's very timid. You got to take that personality into, but, I'm saying, Betty, you're still here. Well, the bus hasn't come yet. She's, basically by herself in the lounge for, 2 hours. And I go, why don't you, I'll give you a ride home, or why don't you call them and let them know you're ready to go? She says, oh, I don't want to mess up my routine and make them upset with me, and then maybe they won't pick me up. And so I just, that's maybe one specific thing, but that's an example of how older people view some of this stuff and the complexities and the, just like using kiosks at McDonald's or Taco Bell. Sometimes it throws us for a loop, myself included. Just that kind of thinking, just to print that out there.
Yeah. We recently worked, Sarah, our travel trainer, worked with a youth who is developmentally disabled, and he had a job, but he couldn't get to his job because he lived with his mother who couldn't drive him. And she was able to, but he was really afraid of using the bus. It's a scary thing. I mean, I don't know how many of you have used public transit often in the past, but especially when you are using a public transit system in a new area for the first time, it's really nerve-wracking. I don't care who you are. It is nerve-wracking. You don't know really, do I have the right schedule? Is the bus actually going to come? Where is it taking me? You get on the bus, you're like, oh my gosh, am I on the right bus? I don't know. Where are we going? This doesn't look familiar. So it's a really scary thing. But with a travel trainer, you can really get over some of those hurdles. So Sarah actually started working with him last year. So he takes the bus regularly to work, and he has been able to move out of the house because he has the bus system, so he can get to groceries and he can get to other services. And so he has moved into assisted living, and he gets around great now on the bus. And so it's really, it was really a great, just showing how you can get over those hurdles, how of fear. Fear is just a real barrier, fear and anxiety of using the system. And so a travel trainer can really help you move forward with that. And so I don't know if she'd be interested in having Sarah kind of talk her through how to call the link and see, hey, she's right there, right central. It'd be so easy for one of the dialer rides to just pick her up and take her back.
Kathy,
Yeah.
Kathy, how do people connect with the travel trailer? And then I want to go over to Commissioner Brady. He has a question.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you can call MCEDD. That's an easy way. I've been so busy talking, I haven't been able to put the Gorge TransLink in the chat, but we have a whole travel train page in the chat. So you can
MCEDD.org. You could just go from MCEDD.org, right? I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, and it's gorgetranslink.com. Gorgetranslink.com is the website where all the schedules are and all the transportation information, the regional transportation information.
Commissioner Brady?
I've been meaning to get on the bus and with my bicycle and go to Hood River, and I think I can do that tomorrow, and then just ride my bike back from Hood River downwind and get back to the Dalles.
That's a great idea.
I really want to appreciate how you're thinking about structuring the governance by working from the asphalt up, starting with one county and then one city and then building onto it instead of trying to bring a whole bunch of counties in together. I think when we see success in one, it'll be easier for the other counties to add on one step at a time. That's a nice structure.
Yeah. Well, our tab, our Transportation Advisory Board will be, the goal is to bring all of the decision makers together so that they're looking at the regional system. There's generally the focus is, of course, on the county system, but as we know, we're in 5 rural counties, and our residents need to generally cross county lines to get to medical and services and higher education and recreation and social activities. So looking at the system regionally is something that the county commissioners have not been doing. It hasn't been in the wheelhouse.
Right. We don't even, within the county, we don't think of transportation as a core service, and so we don't to say, hey, that's ours. And so it's asking us first to think of transportation as a core service, and then look beyond our borders and see that our population is moving back and forth. If one was stand by the freeway in Mosier every morning, we'd see cars going from the Dalles to Hood River and vice versa, because our communities have kind of separated into service and professional communities that cross each other on the freeway every morning. The last thing I wanted to suggest is, as you were talking about van pools, did you also mention harvest? I'm thinking of cherry harvest. It's got to the point where the harvests are used to be small farms. It's still family operations, but now the picking crews are becoming more centralized. And I'm really aware, especially in Dufur, when the cherry harvest shifts toward Dufur, there's a large there'd be a group of people coming from the Dalles to Dufur and back every early morning and early afternoon.
Yeah, there was, as you know, Wasco County just did that great kind of a focus on migrant seasonal farm workers and South County needs, transportation needs. I think there's a deeper dive that can be done with looking at those transportation patterns and and who
Yeah.
needs the transportation. When you start into the world of farm workers, you know, there's of course the H-2A workers who have transportation benefits and who generally live on site. And then there's the migrants or the seasonal workers, the migrant seasonal workers who are, you know, who have in the past come from California and other places, not so much anymore, actually, which is kind of interesting. That group has been shrinking. But then of course there's our residents, you know, generations of folks who have been working in our agricultural areas and who live in places that sometimes are very far away from where they work and where they work seasonally, because they'll work through many seasons.
Kathy, I'll follow up on another one in terms of tourism, and going back to Dog Mountain as a classic example. I know Michelle had done the organization on that to rearrange that chaos down there. Where do we go from here in terms of managing tourism and the increasing impact? The cherry orchard trail at Lyle is a good example. I think I'm one of about 5 people who knew of the existence of that about 10 years ago. And last time I drove by it, that was already getting packed in that parking area. Can you take that Dog Mountain model and replicate it? And what else can we do to disperse tourism away from the Multnomah Falls of the area?
Yeah, that's the the golden question. Multnomah Falls has been just such a it's for many different reasons, and I could talk to you for hours about that. It's a really, really complicated situation, but it is really working with the partners, working with the land managers. So whether it be the state parks, U.S. Forest Service, whoever it is that actually manages those recreation areas, working with the Gorge Commission, working with public transit, but it's not as simple as just getting people on the bus as areas like Zion and Bryce Canyon have found. You know, there's a carrying capacity of the land, and just getting people on the bus, and then when there's more people, just bringing more buses in is not the solution. Is not the ultimate solution. So definitely looking at a permitting system like Dog Mountain is where we're going to have to go. I mean, basically, there's just simply more people. That's where we're at. There are more people, and everyone still wants to recreate. So it's the, you know, we're going to have to be managing people and how many people get access, because, you know, with a permitting system.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Other questions for Kathy?
Yeah, I have one real quick.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't raise my hand, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're
There you
fine.
go. So I just was thinking as we're sitting here talking, you know, when they first started running the shuttles or the routes through here, they started, I'm sorry about this. Every time I talk, it's gonna be a long day this way. They started running the shuttle through here. I had no idea that the senior center was on the route. And I found out from the travel trainer that we were, and that's cool. But I was wondering, on these places where routes or the buses do stop regularly, can we get some sort of signage? I mean, everyone knows where a TriMet bus stops. I get that we're not, you know, that maybe quite that many buses or whatever, but I mean, if I had a sign out here that said that you come every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc., at 7 and 10 and 9 or 3 or whatever, you know, the 3 times you're here or 2 times, maybe you would get a few people who would take advantage of that situation. You know, I've got a lady who comes all the way from, she lives behind Rosars in Hood River. She comes here once a week on the bus system just to listen to the music and watch the movie of the week. You know, I mean, so she knows that schedule, but what if you were able to post that on a sign right out here on my wall? Bus stops here at bingo, bingo, bingo. And if it was consistent within a few minutes, which usually it probably is, you could get a little bit more response, especially from seniors. Again, that would take away some of the issues of trust.
Yeah, so schedules are hard because they change, which is why the the website exists. It's because you're able to just to change it as the schedules change. But we do have a lot of printed schedules that you could take and put on your wall. You would probably need to grab, and Sarah can bring you those. You'd probably want to grab, you'd probably want to grab everyone's schedule, actually.
She has brought the Sarah's already been here and brought them and
Oh,
presented
great.
to people. So, I'm just knowing that, first off, knowing my clientele, they would see something permanent up rather than a pamphlet, and especially online. You're going to lose half of them at online. Sure, they could do that, but
Yeah.
most of them don't even have a computer, or they have a phone, but most of my questions every week are, how can I get this phone to do blank?
Yeah.
And so if you want to consider the senior population, which that is maybe at a need group, the more information possible, and I've got the pamphlets and I've got the posting on my bulletin board, but I don't know, I'm just putting that out there. I know that the schedules do change, but consider that possibly as a help, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we do try to get those, the schedules out there, the printed schedules out as much as we can. I mean, that is, it's hard to keep up on, but they're at City Hall, and they're at the college, and everyone who touches their clients who may need mobility services, we get those schedules too. So we get those out. We print. I mean, I just ordered a couple thousand. Well, no, probably now $4,000 worth of printed materials for all four of the counties. So that's a lot. That's boxes and boxes and boxes. And we do try to get them out. What really seems to be more helpful, though, in the long run, is just getting those bus shelters up. And I'm sorry that Matthew popped off at this point in the game, because it's not as simple as just, hey, we get a grant for a bus shelter and we, put it on the sidewalk somewhere. That it doesn't work like that with the city. So we definitely, we have a great relationship with the city and the city engineer, but it takes, we've got a bunch of shelters that are sitting at MCEDD Yard. They've been in there forever because we haven't been able to, to get the permitting and get through all of the work that it takes to get a bus shelter. It was very easy. Dan got us, it worked with us, and we got 2 bus shelters at both of the college campuses. That was easy because the college owns the land. So, but the city owns the sidewalks, and there are very, very, there's a lot of very good rules around what you can do with the sidewalk, and so it takes a while to do that, but that's the intention, is to get bus shelters up at the stops.
Kathy, I'll go to ready. Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
Yeah, this question is actually more for as much for Rob. Thinking of the question of putting a schedule in a senior citizen's hands, how adept are senior citizens with QR codes? My thought is, if there were a QR code on a point, and the senior citizen would point at it, and up would pop them onto their phone, up would pop the map. But that's too much.
I think honestly, Phil, I'm barely using them myself. Oh, rats, I gotta do this. And I'm getting better at it, right? Again, it's the whole, and this is coming. We have a senior planet technology class starting at the end of July, and a 4-week class that Ronnie Hyde is going to be putting on here, and that'll help a lot of that. But again, you run into that phobia of technology. I think I would say it's not that they can't, it's that they'd rather not because it's just one more thing, you know? So I think education over those kind of things, and a QR code is a really good idea, but then again, they're still afraid of the cell phone. They're afraid of smartphones overall. So they're
Yeah.
getting better. I'd say that's as my group comes in, you know, baby boomers are coming in, we're doing better.
Mhm.
That's, and as far as a bus bench out here, you know, that may be something the senior center, Kathy, might be interested in. We own that land. And maybe I could talk to the board. Maybe we could get a bus bench in our parking lot or something. I don't know. And then you could, or a bulletin board that could have posted stuff on it too, to help the seniors. You know, that's a transportation bulletin board. That's it. You know,
Yeah, we've got the sidewalk shelters that are really kind of minimal real estate. So they're just super skinny, but they give some shelter if it's raining, that sort of thing. And they're a great place they have the, you know, the cases where you can put up all the printed materials.
Kathy, I'm going to drop over to Matt Cole. We've got just a few minutes left here. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of interject into this conversation because with like Rob's scenario, there's very much a use case for technology to solve this problem. And the reason is that you talked about the schedules changing. It would be very easy to create a digital reader board on the outside of their building, AKA a TV that's mounted sideways in a long format or even side format that's in a protective case that would allow for you to update that schedule digitally. So no matter what, if the seniors were at the senior center, they can see on the board at the stop, if you will, what that is. And that could technically be done anywhere. So as long as you have power and internet access and a secure location, you can mount something like that. A digital option is a great way for you to push updates to scheduled routes anywhere that those are located. So I don't know if that's been thought of, but again, in those places where we're worried about schedules changing for, you know, elderly staff or just anyone in general, that is an option if it has not been thought of.
Matthew, I'm really glad you raised that. I was about to raise the same question myself. We've got video screens at the college that we might be able to use for something like that, but even some sort of a dedicated network, the senior center and other locations. Kathy, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Cat and Clickitat County Transportation Services, Mount Adams Transportation Services, they both have the tracking on the bus where you can look online and find my bus, so you can see where your bus is on a map. And those types of systems usually are, you know, include the ability to then to then post up on, you know, electronically, like the next bus is 5 minutes away, you know, that sort of thing. So giving a prediction of where the bus is.
Another,
but
yeah. One other quick thought too, have you guys ever thought about creating an app with push notifications? The reason I say that is you could create geofencing around push notifications that would allow you to create an app that potentially could show you the schedule based on your geolocation, and or again push notifications like, hey, you're in this geographical area, if you choose to incline, the bus will arrive at this stop within the next 5 minutes. Because if you have GPS track, again, just a thought, there's a lot of ways that even from the senior aspect, if a senior just knew that they had to push an app and it automatically showed them a schedule based on where they're at, and that's all they had to look at and do, that's super simple, that'd be awesome. Again, same thing with push notifications. If you have geo tracking, I would say, I'm 100% sure, because I'm not a software developer, but I would assume that we could use that proximity just like you do now. I mean, even now with like, you know, your Amazon packages, it'll show you your Amazon packages here. You know, UPS does that. So I don't think it's out of the norm to say that you could create sometime, again, app system as well. And if you don't know, I have connections with app developers that could look at this for you if you need to as well.
thank you.
Let me jump in here because we're running out of time. As the Wasco County transitions our operations over the next couple of years to the Gobi building. The Gobi, we will own that land, not the sidewalk, but that land. And that could be not only a shelter, even think of having an indoor space that becomes a gathering place. And that would be even a good thing for the county, because it would bring people into the county building where they can see and that's where they can get their pamphlets.
A bus
Perfect.
station.
Good
Yeah.
point, Phil. With
Perfectly
with that-
central. It's, dead center, and I shouldn't say dead center. It is the living center of the community.
All right.
That's really where a bus station, where a transit center should exist, is in the middle of town.
Let's keep that thought in mind. I like that. Phil, thank you.
Mhm.
With that, folks, we are slightly past the hour here. We're going to wrap up this fascinating discussion. Kathy, thank you very much for being our guest. Everyone, we will see you next Thursday.
This has been a meeting that's small but mighty. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you all so much for your engagement.
All right.
And
Happy
interest.
4th of July, everybody.
Yeah, man.
Woo,
Happy 4th, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.